How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Tales from the Darkside. This is Season 2, Episode 15, and this one's entitled A New Lease on Life. Lease being your key word there. Anyway, this is from January 26, 1986, and is directed by John Strysik. This episode stars Marie Windsor, Robert Rothman, Ben Frank, and Robert Sutton. The teleplay was written by Harvey Jacobs with Michael McDowell and is based on a story by Adam K. Jacobs. Lots of credits for this one. But anyway, this is about a man who moves into a new apartment. It's a really good deal, but comes with a few strange rules. And after some odd occurrences, he begins to realize the apartment quite literally has a mind of its own. So overall, a pretty fun episode. And I have to say it's good to get back into a fun episode, because the last two weren't the best, you know? Comet Watch was probably the worst one of the season, and Dream Girl was just a little underwhelming. And in turn, it just feels good to get back into a nice Darkside episode, and overall, this is a pretty fun one. I do want to say, first off, it's an apartment with a mysterious secret. A really good concept. Actually, apartment horror is kind of a subgenre. Most famous example, Rosemary's Baby. But apartments are kind of creepy places. You're living in a place that you don't really own, and your neighbors, who are essentially strangers, are just separated by a little wall, and there's tons of them? Yeah, apartments are kind of creepy, and in turn we do get some fun apartment horror movies, and it's a good concept for this episode. And yeah, the concept, fun, lots of cool ideas, and also some fun little special effects. Here's an example, a mild one. The lady, the landlady, the head of this whole thing, there's a scene where she goes to the sink, holds a cup under the sink, and the sink just turns on for her. A fun idea that the apartment knows her and will just give her water out of the sink whenever she wants to, right? It's a cool effect and also a super easy one. Just have a pump off camera, turn it on, super easy, there you go. A cool but memorable special effect with a fun idea, and then they play off it further when she brings the water back and gives it to the guy. It's not actually water, it's gin, it's alcohol coming right out of the tap, implying that the apartment can just give you alcohol if it wants to, So it's a fun idea with a fun twist on it. It's an easy but memorable effect, and the episode really is full of things like this. Fun little special effects, not the hardest thing ever, but it really just makes this episode kind of quirky and memorable, so I really do like that. And yeah, quirky and memorable, this episode does have a good sense of humor about it. The most obvious example is these two wacky handyman characters that aren't like wacky and annoying, but do have a sense of humor about them. And they really do lean into this sort of living apartment concept and say, hey, this is kind of funny. Let's just run with it, It doesn't go out of its way to be silly, but it doesn't try not to be silly either, and in turn, you get this little quirky episode, and yeah, it's not the best thing ever, but it's a really fun Darkside episode with a really fun concept. The one kind of flaw with this episode is in the horror element. It's not the scariest thing ever. Now, granted, with horror movies, I always felt that horror doesn't necessarily have to be scary as long as it's interesting, and that also goes with comedy horror, If it's comedy horror, maybe it's just funny and uses the horror elements, So this episode, it's not really that scary, But the big thing with this is after the episode's over, even knowing what we know at the end, I'm like, man, he's getting an apartment in New York for $200. Personally, I think I could work with this, you know? Okay, there is one super horrific thing he sees in the middle of the night, but other than that, it's like if I were in this situation, I think I'd figure out pretty quickly what was going on, and I think I could make do for $200 a month, to be honest, you know? Yeah, you gotta feed the apartment, and yeah, don't be mean to it. And plus, it seems like it helps you out in your regular life too if you're nice to it. That's, I don't know, maybe I'm a bad person, but it really doesn't seem like that bad a deal for $200 a month in New York. Okay, all that beside the point. Let's go ahead and talk a bit about the plot in more detail. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this episode's about. We open up the man moving into the new apartment, and he's looking around, and he says, "What's the deal? This apartment is only $200 a month when it should be $1,000 a month because we're in New York and we're in a decent spot in New York." Which, boy, imagine what it'd be worth now if it was $1,000 a month in '86. But anyway, he says, "What's the deal?" And he's looking around. I got a closet, I got a bathroom, I got my ceiling fan, and a window, and the window actually has a good view. So what's the deal? Why is it so cheap? And they don't tell him. One of the repairmen drops the microwave, and even though they say, oh, he has wrist problems, it's quite clear he dropped it on purpose, and the handymen that are helping him move, they say, oh, you shouldn't have a microwave anyway, they're dangerous, the radiation, it gets into the walls, it hurts you. Which it actually doesn't, and the man points out it doesn't. Microwaves, for what they are remarkably safe, really. But he actually, he drops it, it's broken, and he goes, that was my mother's microwave. And I'm like, kind of a weird heirloom, but okay. And I kind of wonder how expensive were microwaves back then. I mean, they were much newer back then. Nowadays, they're not terribly bad. But anyway, he finds out that microwaves are actually banned in this apartment. No microwaves, and it's one of the weird rules. And when we get the rules, we also meet the lady who's in charge. This lady in this bright blue robe that the two handymen seem to kind of idolize. And she comes in and she says, "Welcome to the St. George. If you take care of the St. George will take care of you." And we have a few kind of weird rules. No microwaves, no damaging the walls. So if you want to hang up a picture, you gotta use tape. And kind of almost feels like the beginning of a command hook commercial. But no nails in the walls. And organic trash goes down a special chute. Ring the gong, the chute opens, dump your organic trash in the chute. So a few weird rules, and we also see a few hints at what might be going on here. Strange groaning and growling noises in the walls, but also repeated dragon imagery. This is the St. George apartment. St. George in legend was reported to have killed a dragon, and there's a bunch of little dragons everywhere. On the back of the handyman's outfits, on the doors, her robe has dragon imagery. Something's going on here, right? Well, she leaves, and what does he do? Literally the second they're out of the apartment, is he goes and puts a nail in the wall to hang up a picture of his mother. Literally the second they're gone. Can't wait to break the rules. He puts it in. The apartment growls, and it spits the picture of the mother off the wall, shoots the nail out, and then starts to bleed out of the wall. So he gets the handyman back in, and they start applying peroxide to it like it was an open wound. He tries to give them a tip, and they say, "That's not for me, that's to appease your guilty conscience, don't give me money." And then he goes, "Well, red stuff came out of the wall, I think I must have hit a pipe or something." And they go, nah, don't worry about it. And of course he looks away, looks back, the hole's gone. Must be those handyman doing a good job, right? Well, after that we get the typical horror movie warning character. You know, whenever you do horror movies, you usually have a character that knows what's up, but they seem a little crazy, so everyone dismisses them. But of course, you should listen to them. And you get his next door neighbor, who is this woman who is clearly terrified, and she says, "Get out." And he goes, "No, this place is $200 a month, and I have an option to renew my lease as often as I want at the same rate." He says, "I'm never getting out of here." So he dismisses her warning, and of course, maybe he shouldn't have. Now, with this episode, we do get a few things, you know, they're not really flaws, but there's just a few things that don't quite add up. For example, the neighbors. We do really only get this one neighbor, and they say that they don't want a huge amount of people at the St. George, but when you have an apartment and you only see one neighbor, the landlady and your main character, plus the handyman, it's a big apartment, we only see 5 people. I do kind of wish we had more of a budget to see more of the neighbors, and you could have made them kind of like a cult there too, but this is definitely a budgetary issue. So yeah, one neighbor. Another thing too is there's this plot that kind of doesn't go anywhere, where the mom's name is Helen, I think, and the neighbor lady has the same first name as his mom. So he gives her a glass of water and it has her name on it, and he goes, "Oh no, that was also my mom's name." This doesn't really go anywhere. I don't know why they pointed out that they had the same names, but okay. And also, yeah, he's hanging up a picture of his mom. His mom had apparently passed, and she's brought up a few times and nothing really happens from it. I don't know why he talks about his mother so much. I think this might be a plot element from the short story this is based on. I haven't read it. The Darkside short stories are kind of hard to find, and I really wish they would get re-released in an omnibus, but I would have to guess that all this stuff with the mother was something that was in the short story that got cut out for the TV version, and in turn it just kind of leaves some plot on the floor. But oh well. Overall though, it's still a really good episode. A fun concept. It's an apartment building with a mysterious secret. It's got some fun special effects, some cool ideas. It's kind of cheesy, and overall, yeah, really, really fun, enjoyable episode. Especially coming off of 2 episodes that weren't so great. Hey, this is a pretty fun one, you know? So overall, not the best thing ever, not the biggest, best classic Darkside episode, and by the end, not everything is fully explained. You know, you kind of get the deal with this apartment, but we don't really know. I mean, it's a weird concept. How did it happen? If this was expanded into a movie, I would like to know the whole backstory. Maybe open a door, see some crazy hidden secret of the apartment, go insane, you know? But overall, a good episode, even if it's not the best thing ever. Really fun, so definitely would recommend it. Anyway, to everybody who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Tales from the Darkside playlist. I've talked about all the past episodes of the show. I did the Christmas episodes early, and I talked about the Joe Hill comic and did a Season 1 overview. So this playlist is getting pretty long. If there's an episode that came out before this one that's one of your favorites, you can probably find a review for it in here. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.